All right, the sun is out, the kids are out playing. As you can see, the flowers are in bloom. It's time to get that yard in tip-top shape. It's springtime, and if you haven't started that lawnmower, it's time to start now. So, and they have gold. They found a rock with gold in it. We'll show you that in a second. This year, it's a little bit different because we are in a new place. It's bigger. There's more lawn. There's a lot more garden to this. So I've added onto the Ego arsenal, which includes already, I have the mower, I have the string trimmer, I have the blower, and I have the hedger. With this place, there are a couple things that I really wanted. One was an edger because there is a lot of curbing here. There's a long boulevard, so that's gonna come in real handy. And also, I needed a saw. I was thinking about a chainsaw, but then my application is kind of high up, so I opted for a pole saw. You see, we have quite a few trees, and this tree to my left behind me is a very, very large tree that has very thick, heavy branches that hang down, and they break off all the time, especially during windy days. It's unsafe, especially for the kids to even play under that tree. So I wanted to get something that could take care of that. My hedger actually does a pretty good job of getting some of those branches, except it can only handle branches up to about 1 inch. This is an actual chainsaw on a pole. So let's get to it. All right, so here is the Powerhead. There isn't much to it, especially in assembly. There's a handle, it's got 4 screws, that's about it. You get an Allen wrench with that. You get a trigger here, it's locked because there is a safety. So when you hit that safety with your thumb, you are able to press the actual on button, and then when you let go, it releases that safety. On the top, there is a 1 and a 2 for different speeds. Right there, okay, and at the end you'll see there is a release button and a tightening knob, and that's to put whatever accessories that we're going to use on the end. And then on the back, of course, is the battery receptacle. Once again, nice thing about Ego tools, all the batteries work on all the tools regardless of how old they are and how much power you need. You can actually use them. You can even put a 10 amp hour battery on this. It'll be pretty darn heavy though. And also it all depends if you buy this with or without a battery. I am already part of the Ego system. I have a lot of batteries and chargers, so I didn't need the battery system. So that's it. Let's open up the edger. All right, here's the edger. There is no assembly required whatsoever. It comes as is. It also comes with a few extra things. Brooklyn, how about the wrench? So it comes with a multi-wrench. So you have an Allen key on one end and 2 sockets on either side, and that's going to be used for taking the blade off or taking the guard off. And there's also another Allen key that comes with right there for your smaller screws for the head, like so. And it comes with a small bag with 2 additional cotter pins, and that is for the blade if you need to replace that. So pretty easy to use. There is a guard on here, so you're going to put that up against your curb. Let's try to show you this way. All right, you have a wheel that's going to guide you along, and there's also a screw on this wheel. It's green screw, and that is going to raise or lower the depth of how much you want to go down for your edging. So we're going to tighten that up, connect that up to our multi-head, and off we go. It's just like that. All right, for the last one, the saw. Let's open her up. Here is the pole saw. It does have a cover on it for safety, but hey, careful. It's 10 inches long or 25 centimeters. There it is, right there. There is a reservoir here, and it's empty, which is good for shipping. And this is where you're gonna put your lubricant, your oil in here for using the saw. You need to use that. So we have to get some of that first before we use it. Other than that, this one has no assembly required, as the other one is the same. There's actually one tool here. It's a multi-Allen key on the shaft. It's on this rubber collar, so you have an Allen key and a flathead screwdriver. That's it. Let's get some oil and go cut some things down. We've plugged in our edger. We've inserted I have a 5 amp hour battery on here. I do have some smaller ones, but there's only one thing left to do. Some eye protection. There's that guide. There is the edger for you. The only last thing to do is to blow off all that excess dirt and all that overlap of grass that you have. Now, I went over twice, and if you haven't edged your lawn in a while, you're gonna have to go over at least twice, because you have to actually kind of dig a groove in, and this hasn't been edged for a long time, so just be aware of that. And then once you start getting that groove, you'll get to know how deep you want to set your blade as well. I'm going to readjust my grab handle a little bit lower, and it's going to vary depending on how tall you are and what tool you're using. So I just found that it wasn't quite balanced for where I had it set, but I was a little bit too lazy. I just wanted to edge. And another thing is, I mentioned there is a safety button by your thumb, and you have to press that before you pull the trigger. But once you've pulled the trigger, you can let go of that safety button. And I found myself a lot of times forgetting that, and I was holding on to that safety button, which you do not have to. Next thing, let's tackle the big tree with the pole saw. We're gonna switch over from the edger to the pole saw now. Switching off tools is very easy. Just loosen off that green tightening knob, press the release button, and pull off the tool, and insert your other tool, which is the pole saw. You're gonna line up that arrow. There you go, and just tighten that back up. All that's left to do now is put some chain oil in here, take off that guard, put our battery on. We're going to use my little guy, my 2 amp hour battery to start. I was just curious to see how long it'll last cutting all these branches for. Back up, we have a 5 amp hour battery. In case you're wondering how long of a reach this pole saw is, well, we have a tape measure. Brooklyn, you want to hold it near the tip of that blade. Be very careful, it is sharp. All right, and from tip to tip, we have 80, just almost 89 inches, or 226 centimeters. Now, if you need more reach and more height, you can actually get a 31-inch extension for this multi-tool, and it's not just for the pole saw. You can use it for the hedger. That might be really handy if you have some real tall hedges or deep in there. Yeah, so that is available as well. Let's get cutting. And I shouldn't have to remind you, especially when you're cutting things that can fall into your eyes, to wear eye protection. To start off, we are going to go on speed number 1 and see how that works. Here we go. Oh yeah. Timber, down they come. Wow, this thing works good. much better than the hedger. Now you gotta really, I'm gonna do it in sections here. Oh, that was close. And it makes short work of these branches. All right, let's try speed number 2. This thing is working like a beast. It is fairly heavy though, just be aware. I might have to adjust my handle even more toward the front, or actually even just use this grab handle they have here. But there is some weight to it. Speed number 2. Here we go. Now, I don't know how much more battery that Speed 2 uses. It definitely works better, but I wouldn't say it's, Speed 1 works pretty good too. Let's go back to 1, let's see. Yeah, Speed 2 just makes it faster. Okay, we have a flashing red light. My 2 amp battery has finally died. No lie, we have been out here for over an hour. Of course, it's not running constantly, but that's impressive for this 2 amp battery. I did switch it to speed number 2, especially for bucking all the little branches off the larger limbs. High speed really helps. You can just kind of like just chop through things just like butter. So anyways, we're just gonna clean up here and we'll give you our wrap up in a second. Okay, that's a little heavier, but I think it's actually better balanced actually with the 5 amp battery. It seems to balance better, more weight. Yeah, we'll give her a shot. Okay, while we have the cleanup crew working their magic in behind, let's just wrap it up. The edger, you know what, super straightforward to use, doesn't use a lot of battery. Actually, neither of these power tools use much battery power at all. And it was a real nice finish. It's just, you know, you mow the lawn, you use a string trimmer, you blow the sidewalk, and it's just missing one thing, and that's a nice, sharp, clean edge. And this will do it there. No issues. I can't think of anything that I would change on this at all. Works really good. Lightweight. Then we get to the big guy, the pole saw here. This, I can see it's pretty well gonna be my favorite tool. It's impressive of how well it works. It just cuts through things. Like any of these branches had no issue whatsoever. The only thing that I would want with this actual pole saw is, or maybe even some of the other tools, I wish that you were able to disconnect perhaps the head itself, so you wouldn't have the extension pole. So if you could actually just make basically a stubby version of this pole saw, so you can use it more for short, tighter spots. Let's say if you're bucking some limbs and some small twigs and stuff, you don't want this big long thing. It'd be nicer to have a shorter version. I guess that's what the chainsaw's for, and maybe that would cut into their sales for chainsaws. I don't know, but otherwise, zero issue at all. I have used about 3/4 of a tank of the chainsaw oil, and as you saw, barely used a 2 amp battery and just touching on the 5 amp. We can still do a little bit more, but for today, that's going to be enough. I wish they actually had some sort of a loop anywhere, or even a hole where I could attach a loop to, so I could hang these multi-tools. And that's one thing I think that is kind of missing on here. I have my wall of green, and I know I'll figure something out. But yeah, if they just had something that I can hook onto, that'd be just much easier. Other than that, very, very happy with these multi-tools. I'm actually excited to get into my next purchase is going to be that bristle brush. I want to try that. But yeah, there's so many other things you can get. You can get the hedger, the bristle brush, the rubber broom, the cultivator, and it is a good system. Overall, I'm very happy with these multi-tools. You know, I have a nice crisp edge. I will from this point forward, and this chainsaw or pole saw is going to get some really good use. It's already opened up the canopy underneath this tree so much. Our garden's gonna get more light, the neighbor's gonna get more light, everyone's gonna be happy. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to tune in regularly. I will be doing an update video on these products when the season's over, so we'll see how they handle an entire season of hard work. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.